South Korea is one of the first countries where the nationwide fast internet connection has become a norm. It's no surprise that there have been many active communities and decades worth of stories and contents accumulated there. But for a long time, it wasn't easy for non-Korean users to access to these communities, and for the obvious language barrier, many of these stories have not reached the wider audience. I'm intending to do the job through this channel with a special emphasis on scary, mysterious, or bizarre. They are all allegedly true stories told by everyday people like me and you. But having no way to prove them, I advise you to listen to them with a pinch of salt. Today, as the very first episode of my channel, I present to you 3 stories about dreams that seemingly suggest the matter of life and death. 3 are allegedly true stories about dreams from Korea. Handpicked, translated, and narrated by your host, Anthony. This is a story my mom told me. Mom's parents, my grandparents, were an unusually loving couple. Grandpa treated Grandma like a princess, and Grandma, on her part, would not leave his side. Oh, but cruel fate. Grandpa was diagnosed with lung cancer, though he never touched a cigarette in his life. Because it was found at such an advanced stage, he passed away before he could try any important treatment or surgery. Facing such a sudden loss, Grandma fell ill, probably due to the shock and grief. Even before Grandpa's funeral was over, she was bedridden and barely conscious. Everybody was worried if it might not lead to yet another loss in the family, and my mom could do nothing much else but holding unconscious Grandma's bony hands and cry. After days keeping Grandma aside, other family members persuaded her to take some break if she herself wouldn't want to fall ill. She was indeed extremely exhausted and almost fainted into sleep, and had a most vivid dream. In the dream, the whole family was gathering around, wrapped in warm sunlight floating in from the window, sharing snacks and chatting lively with laughter. Then went the doorbell, and Mom opened the door to Grandpa. Mom wasn't aware in the dream that Grandpa had already departed and welcomed him in. He was carrying a curious wooden board almost as long as himself. He gravely brought the board in and put it down on the brightest prime spot of the room. "What's that board, Dad? Where's it from?" Mom asked. "It's a dipper board. I picked it up from the street," Grandpa replied. "Whatever for? Put it away, Dad." But Grandpa didn't reply anything, but pulled Grandma's hand, who were chatting with other family members, and attempted to lay her down on that wooden board. Suddenly seized by an uneasy feeling, Mom grabbed Grandpa's arm and pleaded, crying, Dad, I'll be so nice to her. I'll never leave her lonely. Please don't do this." The struggle dragged on a while, Mom crying and begging. Then she felt a gentle pat on her head. Looking up, she was met with Grandpa's warm smile. "Will you really do as you said you will? Then I shall trust you," said Grandpa, and then he retrieved a deeper board and walked away. And what the hell is a dipper board? It's a thin wooden board traditionally used to lay a dead body on before finally placing him or her in the coffin. It is named such because the board usually had 7 holes on it in the shape of the Big Dipper. Mom woke up from the dream and no less than a half an hour received a call from the hospital that Grandma had gained consciousness. Mom thinks Grandpa, as a loving husband, was so worried about leaving Grandma alone behind and wanted to take her with him. Thankfully, my grandma is still alive and well, and my mom, as she promised to Grandpa, is trying her best to take care of Grandma. I'm a 40-something woman. My older sister was gravely ill. We were particularly close sisters, and I took it upon myself to keep her bedside tending her. On one such a day, I happened to doze off at her side. In the dream, my late mother appeared and said that she's going to take my sister away now. I begged her with tears to let her live. If I must, I can give away my life for her, Mom. Take 5 years off my life and let my sis have them, I said. Mom smiled awkwardly at that, as if not sure how to respond. Then she said, "You don't know what you are saying. 5 years off from you, and you are a dead girl by tomorrow." And then I woke up. My sister died not long after that. Led by a foreboding, I took a thorough medical checkup myself and was diagnosed with a cancer, already at an advanced stage. The initial treatment proved successful so far, but I still need a regular checkup every other month. It's been like that for 3 years already, and I always have to fight the fear if the cancer wouldn't return in the next 2 years. After graduating from high school, I decided to take the military service. I was then enjoying last a few free months before the service started. A friend told me he had got a part-time job at a video game arcade in Seoul. The job apparently also offered him to sleep at the arcade shop, so I planned to visit him on weekend in 2 weeks. It seemed like a wonderful opportunity to spend a whole night playing games there after the business hour. From the very first day we made the appointment, I started having recurring nightmare, which went like this. That same friend chased me after to kill me. I tried my best to get away, but a flock of birds were keep getting in the way. Meanwhile, my friend caught up with me, and it ended with my decapitated head falling down on the road. It was terrifying, and I woke up drenched in cold sweat. Nevertheless, at first I tried to brush it off, as he was a good friend of mine. But exactly the same dream returned again day after day. By 4th night, I almost wanted to cry when I woke up from it. I was so scared by then that I told my mother about the dream and asked if she knew some fortune teller or somebody whom she could ask about the dream. So went she to see a fortune teller and returned to tell me what she had to say. After mother explained about the nightmare, the fortune teller asked, "Your son is going somewhere, right?" "I'm not sure," mother replied. "He is to the north." "He didn't tell me anything yet." "I am certain. To the north. Tell him not to go. Should I? He's going there to meet someone. Tell him never to go. Why is that? The dream is ominous. Him seeing one person isn't a problem, but there are more, unfortunately. I don't understand. One is okay, but the rest should he never meet. Okay. He said the birds were picking on his head, right? Yes. Those are the bad people whom he should never see. And it's his friend that kills your son in the dream? Correct. It's the friend he's going to meet. Ask him. I see. But it's not just him. There's something more. What should we do then? Tell him not to go. The friend seems to be crying for help, though. Your son should give a hand. What do you suggest? How would I know? It's your son's job. Anyway, stop him going there no matter what. I was very surprised with what the fortune teller had to say. The appointment with a friend was still more than a week away, and I hadn't told my mother about it yet. And indeed, Seoul, where the friend worked, was on the north of my town. In the end, I phoned a friend and called off the plan to visit him. My heart felt somewhat light already. But in my sleep that night, I still had that damn dream again. The difference was I could dodge the attack from the flock of birds. But the terrible ending, my friend cutting my head off, I could not avoid. Once again I woke up drenched in sweat. I remembered what the fortune teller said, that I needed to do something for the friend. But what? How? I called him up again following day, explaining about the nightmare at length, and persuaded him to come down to my town instead. He relented and decided to take a couple of days off from his work so that he could come and visit me on the very weekend we had initially planned to meet. We had a nice reunion together with no significant incident, and he returned to Seoul at the end of the weekend. Then he called me upon returning his workplace. He explained that weekend the game arcade was broken in and robbed. Not only the cash register, but the robbers somehow managed to tackle the coin boxes in the game machines with some sharp tools and emptied them clean too. I ended up visiting Seoul to testify for my friend's alibi during the weekend. All the while, I felt all goosebumps. Had I visited him at the arcade that weekend and spent the night there, we might have encountered the robbers, which might very well result in a tussle with them. And who knows what kind of injury we might have ended with out of it. Was my nightmare then really, as the fortune teller said, a cry for help from my friend? I could never know. I'm just happy that we both escaped the ordeal unscathed. Hi, I'm Anthony, and thank you very much for listening. As this being the first episode of my new channel, I'd like to briefly mention about my motivation and the direction I'm hoping to take in the future with this channel. Like many people, I've always loved ghost or paranormal stories. I'm not particularly religious or spiritual, but I found them entertaining above all else. But as I get to hear scary or mysterious stories from different parts of the world, mainly via YouTube narration channels, I started to find them fascinating beyond the entertainment value. Fear is, of course, a universal instinct as one of our survival mechanisms, but what exactly triggers the sense of fear is very closely related to the given society's taboos, values, and spirituality, including religions. Even though these stories and subject matter are rarely discussed in the academia, history classes, or tour guides, but I find them sometimes more revealing in terms of understanding its psyche and perception of life. So, by sharing such stories from Korea, I hope that I might be able to offer you an interesting peep into my homeland's psyche, as well as entertain you, as any good old scary stories would. In the same vein, I'm planning to make extra comments and explanations about the cultural aspect and background regarding the stories narrated too. I hope you all join this little journey with me, and if you'd like, please like, subscribe, and click the notification bell to help this new channel grow. Till next time, take care.